Welcome to Talking Heads on USA Global TV, starring the one and only wonderful Dr. Jacalyn. It's a prestigious place where world-class influencers and experts meet, and where you'll find the most trusted advisors and coaches for all things in life and business. Visit usaglobaltv.com to sign up for our newsletter, get the value you need, and be first in line to learn about events and giveaways and other valuable content. Connect with us. Email Dr. Jacalyn at usaglobaltv.com to talk about how you can become part of USA Global TV. That's USA Global TV, where the doctor is always in.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. Hopefully it's welcome back to USA Global TV and Radio. I'm Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, and our show today is Entrepreneur and so much more. And we have a fascinating topic today, especially when it is summertime here in the United States. Top tips for entrepreneurs to go on vacation. How can we actually do that? Because, we feel so guilty. We don't want to leave. We can't leave. There's so much going on. So joining me for this show is Justin Mirigliani, who is such a good friend, such a wonderful person. And please do go over to our YouTube channel, USA Global TV, and watch the previous episodes. Justin will be coming back right after this show with his own Talking Head series, and he'll be sharing how to create really powerful PowerPoint slide presentations. So Justin is an internationally recognized corporate trainer, software and soft skills trainer. He's a filmmaker. He's an author. He's a television personality. And obviously he's the co-host here. He is an expert presenter on Talking Heads, as I mentioned. He's also one of our certified elevated listeners, and he's the CEO of Checkmates Charitable Association. Let's welcome Justin.
Hello, Dr. Jacalyn. How are you?
Hello, I'm doing well. You're like very calm and kind of like,
I feel very calm today, yes.
Very zen.
Had a good workout earlier today, so.
Well, listen, as an entrepreneur, we need to be zen and we need to be in peace and able to get rid of the chaos that we have sometimes with wearing all those different hats, right?
Oh, absolutely. The pressure can be enormous, as you know. I mean, you're going through it right now with all the things that are going on in your life that you're working with and building this platform and everything like that. It's not easy, and we do need to step away sometimes, for sure.
We do, but we feel that guilt. We're torn, and yet the family's like, we want to see you and spend time with you. We need to go on vacation. It's kind of like, I don't trust anyone to do what needs to be done, and I can't take off. And what about my emails? And on the stories we tell ourselves.
Yeah, and in my case, where I train people and I do corporate training, if I don't work, I don't get paid. So every time I take a week off, that's potentially thousands of dollars that are being punted right there, because I charge about $2,000 a day for full day courses. So you think about it, if you take off a week, that's 5 days. That could be $10,000 that you're getting, just losing in revenue. And then, not that I think it's important to spend money on vacations. I think, especially in my situation with a wife and 2 kids, it's important for us to have that family time. But if you look at the price of going on vacation on top of losing the $10,000 in revenue, it's really, it could be a $15,000 to $20,000 swing. So that's difficult for most entrepreneurs to swallow, that in 1 week there could be that much of a turnaround.
Great point, Justin. And I think this is also something that we need to discuss is you go on vacation and you're so stressed out getting there. It takes a certain amount of time to unwind. Then by the time you unwind, it's time to leave. And then you go, you're like, what did I just do? I spent all this money and time away. But yet we get to reflect. And I think it gives us perspective, because when we are knee deep in the weeds, so to speak, we lose that focus on self-care and family and how important that is.
That's true. And I wind up, I notice I have an issue where I'm not always present on those vacations, because sometimes I'm thinking of something, an idea that I want to implement when I get back from vacation, and I'll be thinking about that and getting more ideas, and my brain is spinning 100 miles an hour. And sometimes I have to turn that off and say, look, that there is a time for that, but this isn't it. And I remember on my honeymoon, I had a pad and paper, and I was writing down business ideas at that time, things for my own business. And we were in Disney World for our vacation for our honeymoon, and obviously Florida in July is extremely hot. And I could see people really sweltering. I mean, they were enjoying the park, but they were so hot. I mean, they were sweating and they were panting, and it just it was uncomfortable. And I was trying to think of different ways to cool down and still be able to keep moving and have fun. So I was jotting down different ideas for that. And you know, it, I don't know, as an entrepreneur, if you ever really turn that off. I think that's something that is on most of the time. I think it's just a matter of trying to figure out a way to at least slow it down a little bit. And I don't want to take away time with my wife and kids when I'm on vacation. And I know I fall victim to that still. I don't know if I'll ever be able to conquer that completely, but it's something that I do try to think about at least, and at least for most of a day, each day, is to not think about business ideas.
That's definitely a tough one, Justin. I'm there with you. I haven't had a vacation in years, but I think of my life as a vacation because since I left corporate, I've been able to create so many different things, which truly is a gift. And yesterday, I had a really good friend who was here on the island and wanted to go for a walk. And I was just tormented because every day I have certain things that I have to do for the platform and for my other business. So I figured out a way to reconcile that I would take some of my books that I wrote with me and just start passing them out, signing those and things. So I
Right,
actually did that. And we were gone for 2.5 hours. At least when I came back, I really enjoyed myself. But I said, okay, you did some business while you were there. It's okay.
right. And I remember we had a vacation one time where I wasn't driving. I was a passenger in the car, and we were going to South Carolina. And I had a binder because I was just starting to create the documentary that we're still working on. COVID kind of set us back pretty badly over the next few years, but it's the documentary is called Keenan's Kids, and it's about the 1984 to 1988 Philadelphia Flyers. Their coach was Mike Keenan, and Mike Keenan was really a taskmaster. He's a very tough coach, and they had a very young team. The kids, the reason it's called Keenan's Kids is because they were kids. They were 18, 19. Some of them, I think the oldest player was about 30, and they were young guys. And when I started to do that documentary and get it off the ground a little bit, again, we had a trip out to South Carolina, and I was in the car, and I had a binder with literally about 800 to 1,000 pages of news articles from back at that time. And I was underlining that whole ride, 9 hours, circling things, underlining things, highlighting things. And I still have that binder now. And I look at it like, wow, uh, I might not have been the greatest passenger, or most friendly passenger. I was kind of in my own world and really not paying attention. So, uh, we kind of pride ourselves, I think, a lot on how hard we work. We use it as a badge of honor. People say, well, hey, I work 80 hours a week, or I work 100 hours a week, or I work 16-hour days. And we really hold that up and kind of pride ourselves on that. And I think that might be flawed thinking. I think at least in the United States, I think we work too hard. I think we actually put too much of a premium on how much we work, how much time we put in. Maybe we should be thinking more about the quality of the work, and getting it done in less time and spending more time with the family. Because I try to remind myself that on my deathbed, I'm not going to be saying, "Hey, I really wish I would have spent more time building the business." I pretty sure that my thoughts will be wrapped around how much time did I spend with my family? How much time did I enjoy with them?
Yes, very good points. And Justin, you shared on a previous show that it took a certain amount of time for your business to ramp up and get to where it is now. So,
Right.
how do you reflect on the vacations that you took before you got to that point versus on one you will now take?
There, early on, it was really hit or miss in the summertime, especially for my business, because training requires people to be in the office, right? So when people are going on vacations at these different companies, they're not there to be trained. So the training would kind of collapse over the summer. And I would get a few days a month, but that was about it. So it was easy to take vacation. But now that I have more clients and it's building, um, instead of getting 5 or 6 days in a month, which was typical back then, now it's at least 12, sometimes up to 20 in a month. So that means that at this point, when I take a vacation, I really am getting rid of work. I'm actually saying I'm not gonna recoup this, because a lot of times a client will say, "Well, look, if you can't do it, we'll just get somebody else to do it." Especially if I subcontract, they'll find another trainer who can get the job done at that time. So it's not like it's a postponing and saying, "All right, well, you can't do it now. We'll wait a couple weeks, or we'll wait a week and a half, or whatever it is." And we're planning, not this year, but maybe next year, going to Disney World again. And we want to make it because we missed so much time with COVID. Last 2 years, or yeah, 2 years, we didn't go on vacation at all, really. We stayed in the house. So, a lot of money was saved. And our thoughts are now next year going for 2 weeks to Disney World. So about 14 days. And that's going to take a lot of work on my part to be able to put aside that time and not think about, oh my goodness, how much money am I losing besides the cost of the trip, which is probably going to be close to, 12, $15,000 itself. So that's a huge swing when you think about what you could be missing. But at the same time, the main thing is, and I think we don't put enough stress on this, you can make money back. You can never get time back. My kids are 16, almost 16, and 11, just turned 11, and we're not going to get that time back. If we don't do it now, it's never going to happen. They're going to get older, and eventually they're going to move out, and those small family vacations just aren't going to happen anymore. And I don't want to look back and say, well, I made $20,000 that month, but at the cost of not being able to be with the kids at that time. And it was especially that way the first time we went, because they still believed in the princesses and all that stuff, and they were very young. I think they were 9 and 4 at the time, and you know, um, we weren't. I wasn't making a whole lot of money then. The business wasn't really moving that well. I was pretty sick. I was actually headed to surgery for having my entire colon removed and have the ileostomy placed in, and um, we did it anyway. And in fact, we were in debt. We were pretty far in debt, and credit card debt at the time, and mortgage and everything else. And we talked to each other, Amy and I, and said, look, the kids are never going to be this age again. They're never going to believe in princesses, when they're 20. So either you do it now, even though it's going to put you in a lot more debt, or you don't do it at all. And to us, it was well worth going further into debt. And as the business has grown, obviously that's been helpful, got us out of the debt, and now we're doing well. But it wasn't always the case. And I look down the road with the 16-year-old. College is not that far away. It's only a couple of years down the road, about 3 years down the road. So there's some huge expenses that are on their way as well. And every vacation that you take, that's money that you're not going to make. So uh, there's got to be a balance, right? You have to find that balance of how much vacation is the right amount and how much isn't. I personally feel that we should go to a European style where people get 6 weeks of vacation every year. I think that's better for us, uh, physically, mentally, spiritually. Again, I think what we do here in the U.S. a lot of the time is we have that badge of honor that, oh, I don't take vacations, or if I take vacation, I take my laptop with me and I work at least 3 or 4 hours of the day. I mean, if you have to do it, you have to do it. I understand that, but it it really is not a badge of honor. It's us with a mindset that work is more important than everything else, and that's just not true.
Yeah, thanks for sharing your perspective. I think for me, since I don't have any children or a spouse, and I'm really blessed that I split my time between two places that are really vacation destinations, that's part of the
Yeah.
reason why I look at it as I'm always on vacation, because I'm always surrounded by beauty and nice weather, which is something that people are doing more and more of. They're actually moving to a place that they went to vacation and they really liked it. And then how did they start a life there? And one of our team members, as I mentioned to you, Roland Friedel, that's exactly what he talks about, is that people go on vacation and they really like it and they just pick up and leave, but they don't know anything about the culture. They don't know anything about how to generate business or what it's like to have a business in that country. So there's definitely work that needs to be done. But I can think of so many people who said, yes, I'm going to just stop what I'm doing and I'm going to go make sandals in a hut. And people
Right.
actually, they give it up and they actually do it. So, but to your point, I like what you just said, because in my life, with the men in my life, my father and other people I've been with, they would always work for a certain part of the day. And because I was in corporate, I got vacation. So I was able to go and just be like, yeah, that's it. The company's still running. I don't have to worry about it right now. But they
Right.
were never fully present. And it was kind of like, oh, well, you're not around at home. Excuse me. And you're not around here either. So what good are you?
Yeah, and that's painful. And I don't want to leave that legacy to my kids. I don't want them to say, dad was always distracted. And I struggle with that. I mean, I've been very open about the struggles I've had with OCD and anxiety and depression, and that's another aspect of it. It's if for me, if something is on my mind, it's very, very difficult for me not to continue to concentrate on it. It just, even if I try to distract myself with something else, it just kind of repeats and repeats and repeats. You know, we were at Hershey Park in, I guess it was 2014, and I was just starting Checkmates, the charity, and the charity's for people with Crohn's and colitis, inflammatory bowel disease, and also those with an ostomy, ileostomy, colostomy, or urostomy, or there's other types of ostomies that are internal, but I'm not going to get into all of that right now. But we're at Hershey Park, and I'm trying to think of a name of the charity. I'm just trying to figure it out because we're getting closer to the time where we were going to do our event. And our main event is an ice hockey game with NHL alumni. We do an NHL celebrity hockey game, and that helps us raise money and awareness for people in these communities. And I'm at Disney World, and we're going from ride to ride, and I'm trying to think of a good name for the charity and also for the hockey team because that's part of the charity. And I'm thinking of what would make people think of hockey or sports, and what would make them think about winning. And I came up with checkmates because in chess, when you win a game, it's checkmate, right? So checkmate to these diseases. Someday we're going to say checkmate. We're going to end inflammatory bowel disease. That was one of the reasons. And then the other reason is in hockey, when you come up against somebody who's got the puck, you check them, a body check, and you take them off of the puck. So, and we were teammates. So that's where checkmates came from. And I think it's a cool name for the charity, but every time I think about it, I also think about the day that I was at Hershey Park, and instead of being on the rides and just enjoying the rides with Amy and the kids, I was racking my brain trying to come up with the name for the charity. So it's a little bittersweet for me sometimes. I think, hey, that's a cool name, and it actually worked out. The jerseys are so cool, and it's just a neat thing, and it's got a lot of meanings. The term checkmate, but at the same time, I wasn't listening to what everybody was talking about, and I wasn't actually watching them enjoy the rides as much as I should have at that time. I probably would have come up with that name anyway if I just waited till the next day, but it was on my mind. I no matter what I did, I couldn't get it off of my mind, and that's just the way it was.
Well, it sounds like, looking back, you felt some type of remorse or
Sure.
even guilt attached to it. How did you let that go?
I don't think I have. I think that there is some. I think there probably always will be some. I I I feel guilty sometimes, when Amy can remember some things that the kids did when they were really young, like 2 years old, 4 years old, 6 years old, and I can't. And I know some of that is because my mind was preoccupied during those times. And it may not have been vacations per se, but it could have been trips to, we used to go to the Discovery Museum in New Jersey, right where we live. And the kids would have all kinds of fun. There were slides, and there was uh, they could blow bubbles and be inside of a bubble, and they could play basketball and all different kinds of things. And I have videos of that, and I do feel guilty when I look at some of those videos, and I, for the life of me, cannot remember that time. I just don't remember that particular day. And I think part of that is because as an entrepreneur, I was thinking of, you know, could I run a place like this? Could I do this better? Even stuff that's not my own business. Sometimes I'll look at that and say, is there something here? Is there something that can be developed that's not being developed right now? It's very hard to turn that off. I don't know. Do you have the same issue, or is that?
Well, I work every waking hour except maybe today I got up early and I rode my bike, my stationary bike, but I didn't burn enough calories according to my watch. So the whole time I'm riding the bike, I'm working, thinking. And
Right,
when I'm walking, I'm working, thinking. When I'm at dinner, I try to be present, but I feel an incredible sense of responsibility to all the team members, plus to all the guests, plus I just feel I have to show up at the highest level. And therefore, even my family, I'm up here in this studio and I'm in a loft, and they'll be downstairs and I'll be having a conversation over the wall with them because I have to work. And, from taking elevated listening, you can't possibly listen at an elevated level when you're doing something else. So I'm really not
right,
giving all of myself.
right. It's very hard. Even years ago, I had a house up in the Poconos. We bought a just a small condo, and it was for business. It was, yeah, we used it, but mostly it was rental property, so we could make some money off of it. So even the things that I enjoy, I'm always looking for a way to try to monetize it or try to make a business out of it, because it's just, I guess it's just the way I'm wired. I
You're truly an entrepreneur.
there's pros and cons to it, though. I mean, I don't. I think some people look at that and say, well, that's great. You're constantly looking for ways to better your business or create a business or create opportunity. And but on the flip side of that, at what cost? I mean, am I always present when I need to be or when I should be? And the answer is not always.
Let's talk. Oh, we have a comment. Let's
Sure.
put this up. I think this is our friend from Bangladesh. I recognize the picture. Hello, thank you for being with us.
Hi.
Hi. So, question that I have, our show topic is tips that we can give to entrepreneurs who want to go on vacation. So
Yep.
far, I don't know that we've actually found any. But what, so here's what I would say. How can we as entrepreneurs plan in advance for us to take time off? And is there a way, if we plan, let's say next year we're going to go on vacation, can we try
Right.
to ramp up our business so that we could have someone on board? Or maybe there's some kind of remote software that we can use to check things. I don't really know, but I do know that it is absolutely possible to work remotely in
Right.
many scenarios, but that again is considered work. So,
Right.
is it possible when you're a one person show to just say, hey, I'm taking the 2 weeks off? And, like I think about this, is it possible for me to take 2 weeks off from this business? I'd have to train someone to produce the shows, which is definitely doable. I learned it on my own. And I would just have every show host do the show themselves. So I'd have to do some training for that as well, not for you, but for some other people. And I could do it.
Right. No, you could.
But who would do all the promotions? Who would create all the broadcasts? Who would do all the follow-ups? Who would go to the YouTube channel like the YouTube channel in and of itself is a full day. The promos are 2 days. So to really revisit it, the answer is no. I don't think I could.
Right. But you know what, Dr. Jacqueline, you're in a unique situation because you're building an entire platform. I mean, this is a massive, massive undertaking. I'm not sure every entrepreneur has that much of a massive undertaking that what you're going through right now. And plus you're in not the beginning stages, but certainly early stages of it. And that's another big part of it. You know, when you're starting out, you got to keep it alive, right? It's like when you have a baby and bring home the baby. Well, you better be feeding that baby. You better be putting that baby to bed. You better be burping the baby, changing the baby, right? But then as it gets, yeah, exactly, it's your baby. And as it gets older, though, like when you have a 16-year-old, you don't have to do all those things, right? She can make dinner for herself. I could go out and do something, and well, the business is the same way. I mean, as it starts to grow and you start to grow, I think you'll wind up with more time to be able to take those vacations. But you know what, you do, I think, a good job of like you said, having sort of vacation-ish time every day. I mean, you work out, you walk, you take care of your mom, all those things. So I think that maybe it's not you taking off 2 straight weeks, but you're taking some time.
And it's also the view that I have now is absolutely unbelievable. And to be able to have a view where some people are looking at a brick wall, there's no window, it's truly a gift. So I'm grateful for that. And then on the other side, something I want to mention, my other business, Dr. Jacalyn LLC, I have gotten that to the point where it can basically run by itself. So the courses that I was doing live, I've now filmed and am in the process. They're not all up there yet, but I'm uploading them. The power of listening is available. Anybody can download it anytime they want. They get sent the quiz automatically, the certification sent to them automatically, and it's seamless. I don't have to do anything. So that's a beautiful way of setting up passive income. So for anybody out there who has courses and you're teaching them live, like you are, I'm going to be teaching a course to a large group of people. So I'm going to be still doing that. But at the same time, I have this other ability for onesie, twosie people, you know what I'm saying, for individuals to take the course by themselves, which it doesn't involve me. So I feel like I have the best of both worlds now.
Yeah, I mean that's the other thing. That's a good tip, is that when you can find ways to automate your business and have it done passively, that's huge. I mean, in my situation, I do get to do that once in a while. So a company might say to me, "Can you record a class for us?" And then I charge them for that, however many times they're going to run that particular video. But for the most part, I would have to be there, or at least virtually be there, and that's uh, as I grow, I, I'll start to hire contractors who could take those jobs on the days that I'm away, and I think that's going to be a big part of it going forward. But again, it's I fall into the same trap that everybody else does, and I think it's a U.S. thing, really, because I mean, if you look at Europe, they really do know how to take vacation. They understand how to enjoy the day. I mean, you talk about, I'm Italian, so in Italy, I know that they take off in the middle of the day. Lunch is the biggest meal of the day, and then they sit together as a family, and they take a nap during the day and refresh themselves, go back to work and work till 7, 8 o'clock at night, come home. I think there's something to be said for having less pressure, and they're still successful. It's not that they're punting success for recreation, but I even as a kid, I always thought that a hobby had to have a payoff at the end. Whether it was playing a sport, there had to be some sort of a payoff. And I really, for instance, when I read books, I really don't read any books for pleasure at all. The only books that I read are literally books that will help me further business or figure out a way to monetize, whatever it is, whatever I'm working on. So I read books about training, or I'll read books about filmmaking. To me, there's got to be a payoff. I'm not the type of person that will sit down and do the crossword puzzle, because I just don't have, that's just not the way I'm made. I don't have that gear where I could just passively sit there and spend the time doing something where generally there's no payoff. Um, I I think that's good and bad. I think the good part of it is that allows me to make good business decisions and do things that will further the business. The bad part is I'm probably not as well read as maybe some of my family members who will read books about, the uh, Revolutionary War or World War II or the Depression or the Holocaust or whatever it is that you can think of, or Shakespeare, whatever it is. I just even in college, same thing. When I would take courses, I would think, man, how is this going to help me in my future in business? How's it going to help me run a business later on? When I would take courses that didn't do that, I really didn't do well in those courses because I there was no drive to do well. I just didn't have that desire. Um, and again, I'm not saying that that's the right way to do things. I'm not saying it's wrong. It's just the way I'm wired, I think. Um, and in some ways it's helped me. In other ways it's hurt me. Like I said, I need to find a way to dial that back sometimes when I should be doing something fun. There is something to be said for, again, getting on a roller coaster and just enjoying the roller coaster, not anything else, just having fun being there, or sitting on the beach and literally just sitting on the beach and watching the kids have a good time running around in the ocean. I mean, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Um, it's just that somehow, some way, you got to get the brain to not get into the gear of, oh my goodness, while I'm sitting here, I could be making money doing this, or the I see the ice cream person selling ice cream. I think I could probably figure out a way to make that more profitable. I mean, that's just what happens sometimes with us.
It's so true. And I wish I could say that I'm different than you, but I'm the same. And I just was aware of it. I took my paddleboard out for the first time, I think in 3 years. And my family was here, and, one of my relatives went out on the paddleboard, and I had my gloves, like my gym gloves. And I was like, if I'm taking this time away from work, I am going to literally push myself to the nth degree. So my relative
Right.
is out there, I'm like, shh, 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 an hour and 40 minutes, like a complete, but that's how I do everything. It's if I'm
Yeah.
going to put myself out there and I'm taking myself away from this desk, I have to make it worth my while. My Apple Watch, which is right here, it has to show that I am burning so many calories and doing what I need
Right.
to do. And I don't read any books for pleasure either. I have a children's book, one of 7, coming out with another author. So I went into a bookstore yesterday, and I'm going through the children's department, like doing research to see what
Right.
everybody else has out there. And then, I could justify that also as part of being away from here. So I just think that it's also, at least here in the States, so many people go under, right? So many businesses go under because they can't get over that hump of where it's a hobby to an actual business. And
Right.
I've spoken to, interviewed so many people who have said, I was right there. I was about to stop. I was about to give up, and I kept pushing, and I made it. So yesterday we celebrated 6 months at USA Global TV, which
That's right.
uh, is a milestone. And of course, Dr. Jacalyn, I think I started in 19, but I was doing my corporate job. So my point is that I feel this drive to just keep going, putting my energy here, and that I will take the time off, in 3 years or whatever it's going to be, God willing.
But and then you have to follow through, and I think that's part of the tip is that once you decide you're going to take the vacation, take the vacation. Don't just do it halfway because it, what's the point? I mean, you might as well just keep working if you're not going to really enjoy the vacation. And again, the vacations are not cheap. I mean, if you want to go to Europe, if you want to go to Disney World, if you want to go anywhere, I mean, you're spending thousands of dollars, especially if you have a family. By the time you pay for airfare and food and hotel and everything else, souvenirs, there's nothing that's inexpensive anymore. It's just, the days of going away for $500 for the week are over. It's thousands of dollars every time you go on a vacation. So you got to enjoy it. If not, you're just burning that money up. Um, but I think the tip I would give to an entrepreneur, and I don't always follow this myself, is that we have to dial the brain back a little bit and not be so concentrating on business itself. There's got to be we got to allow ourselves to say it's just okay to have fun. It's not a bad thing if you just have a good time. If I go parasailing, I love the parasail with the kids, especially. They love it. So when I'm up there in the sky, I got to look around and just enjoy the sky and being up in the not the clouds, but you're up pretty high. Or if we, I like to ski in the winter, so I want to be on the mountain and just enjoy being on the mountain, having the snow come down and just enjoy every minute of it. Um, but I'm like you when you talk about the paddle boat and going so hard. I'm the same way in the gym. Before this program, I was working out earlier today at the 2 hour workout, and I absolutely killed myself. I mean, I just pounded and pounded and pounded and pounded. I don't have that gear of just doing it for an hour and getting it done. It's got to have a payoff. It's got to be that I'm either going to build muscle or get stronger or drop some pounds or whatever it is. It's very, very difficult for me to just leisurely walk on a treadmill or leisurely ride the bike or leisurely lift the weights. I got to go full throttle. Uh, I there's a term in weightlifting. It's called lift to failure, and that means that you lift the weight until you just can't lift it anymore. You literally your muscles fail, and virtually every set I lift to failure. I just I don't have that gear to say there's two more in the bag, but I'm not going to use them.
Well, I think people are going to take away from this that you and I are workaholics.
I know. But I guess we don't we can learn to again dial it back a little bit, and it takes a lot of reconditioning your brain to do that, and
Yeah,
again in your position it's a little different because you're growing something, right? You're still trying to nurture it and grow it, and that takes a lot more effort. Like you said, once you get to the point where you could automate things and things are moving on their own, it changes.
exactly. And it's also a trust issue as well, that to give someone the
Right.
keys to the platform when I'm not here is, the keys. But, I think of it like this, Justin. If I think of it like a football game, right? A football game is four quarters
Right.
usually, and it's comprised of many downs. Like there could be a Hail Mary, there is a Hail Mary every once in a while, but it's like your business, you're moving down the field and you want the first down every time, but you don't necessarily get the first down. And then you have to get in the huddle and regroup and, okay, what are we going to do? So I feel like, even though I'm not living by this adage, I feel like the vacation is part of that huddle time, that regroup time where you say, okay, what are we doing? And sometimes you have to take a time out. Sometimes you take a time out and say, wait, let's
Right.
look at what we're doing so that we can keep advancing down the field and whatever that advancement looks like. And the vacation is part of it.
And you got to look for signs of burnout too, because if you're burned out, then you could work 16 hours a day and it's not going to matter because you're not going to be at your best. People, when I used to go to, I have a gym in the house now, but when I used to go to the gym, I would go for an hour or two and I would see people there, same amount of time I was there, but they spent the whole time talking
Mm.
or going to the water cooler or all kinds of different things. And, did we both spend 2 hours in the gym? Yeah, we did, but they were totally different 2 hours. I
Right.
was almost crippled going to the car and they were still not even sweating. So, I mean, that's the difference, right? I mean,
Yeah, and some people go to a gym for the socialization of it, right? Just to
right.
go and chat
Which
with
is
other people.
fine, but if you want to get in shape, it's not going to work. I mean, that's not how it works.
Exactly. I know when I go to the gym here on the island, I like to do jump rope in between every set of whatever I'm doing, and I have to
That's
get to
great.
100. And if I miss, I have to start all over again. Then I'm doing burpees and leapfrogs, and I look around and they're on their phone. So many people on the phone at the gym, like in between sets, like, oh, let's. And then on the phone, I'm like, no, this is back and forth, back and forth. It's like I'm looking at my watch. How many calories am I burning? What's my movement goal? And I walk out of there and I'm exhausted, but I know that I put in the effort because I don't know how to do it any other way.
Yeah. But you know what? The other thing to think about too is but again, we talk about burnout. When you sense the burnout, you got to take the time off, right? So if I lift hard for 5 days straight and I can't even turn my neck. Let's say I have to turn my whole torso. Then I'm going to give myself 2 days off. I'm not going to go in the gym at all. I'm not going to touch a weight because I know darn well that if I sit down at the bench and I start putting weights on, I'm going to add just a few more pounds, just a few more pounds, and then I'm over 300 pounds on the bar, and I'm killing myself again. So I have to not go. I have to just say,
Because
all
your
right,
body's speaking to you. Your body's saying, "Listen, I need a
yeah,
break." By the way, where are you in terms of breaking the record?
about 385 right now for the bench
All
press,
right.
but we're getting there. It's so hard to get up because you get little injuries and then you have to stop for a little bit. So it's tough. It takes a while. Yeah.
Well, you're doing it. It's just a matter of time.
But it's just like business, right? I mean, you have a goal, you want to get to that goal, and you feel like anything that you do to take away from that time is going to cost you getting to that goal. And that's not necessarily true because when you do take that vacation and you rejuvenate yourself, you're going to come back even stronger the next time.
That's true. It's very true. So, what would you say the key takeaways are from our tips today?
Don't be like us. No, seriously, I think the key takeaways are that you have to give yourself permission to take a vacation. You have to remember that life is more than just your business. Your business is important. There's no doubt about that. It's probably for most people their livelihood, unless you're independently wealthy and you're just having some fun with a hobby. It's the way you're going to put food on the table. But don't miss the important things in life. If you have kids, don't miss the time with your kids. You think about Cats in the Cradle, right? That song by Harry Chapin. The
Hmm.
father works like crazy and is never around, and he buys his son a ball for his birthday, and the kid says, "Let's have a catch," and dad says, "I'm too busy," you know. And then the kid grows up and doesn't want anything to do with the dad anymore because he wasn't there for him. So it's important to keep that stuff in mind that at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, you're not going to look back on your life and say, "Gee, I really wish I would have worked harder, or I would have worked more." You're going to say to yourself, "Gee, I wish I would have spent more time with my family. I wish I would have spent more time, taking care of myself. I wish I would have spent more time being stronger mentally, emotionally, spiritually." And if you can put that in that perspective, I think that you can give yourself the permission to take your vacation.
Yeah, that's really good. I know we have to close out soon because your show's coming up, but what do you think about combining business and pleasure? So, in other words, you go to a destination where you're going to be able to speak and get paid, and then you extend, you pre extend, you post extend, or you do some training while you're there, or whatever way, you go to a conference and then pre or post extend. Thoughts?
I've done it. Yeah, I've done it. I think it's a great idea because then you really feel like, wow, I got some work done. I made money. I increased my business, or I did something to better my business, and now I can have some fun. I can give myself a break and just enjoy it because y- you already did the heavy lifting.
Well, we might have the answer right there.
Yeah, I did that in Vegas one time. It was a mistake at the end of the day because I gambled away almost all of the money that I made.
Well, that's another story for
Yeah,
another show.
I know, right?
Justin, tell everyone who's watching or listening on the live or the replay, what is your topic going to be? I know we talked about it briefly, but for talking
Yeah.
heads, what can they expect tonight?
Yeah, so I'm gonna talk about building PowerPoint presentations. I had a business partner one time when we started actually before the film became a film, the documentary, it was going to be a book. And the partner I had at the time wanted to try to develop it into a film, actually not a documentary, but a movie. And I remember I said, let's go to prospective investors and I'll build a PowerPoint presentation for them and show them what we're doing. And his exact words to me were, "No, we can't use PowerPoint." And I said, "Why? What's the problem with PowerPoint?" And his exact words were, "It's too impersonal." And that doesn't have to be the case. Yes, PowerPoint presentations can be impersonal. There's no doubt about that. But that doesn't mean they have to be. So it's up to you to put the personality into the presentations. So that's what we're going to talk about in the Talking Heads episode coming up next, is how not only to build the presentation, but make it one that's dynamic. You don't want static presentations. So that's the topic.
I'm excited to produce. I'll be backstage.
Yeah.
One thing I just want to leave us with is I remember in my corporate career going to a very prominent, well known client, and I was given a 65 slide deck to review with a C-level executive. And that doesn't cut it. So I just I want people to watch and learn, because you're going to be sharing some really valuable content. I was also told at different points in my career, we're not doing PowerPoint anymore. We're trying this, we're trying that. We're going to bring in a flip chart. We're actually going to write things down. But ultimately, we went back to the PowerPoint because it is so useful, such a useful tool that, to your point, we can really create it and make it our own.
Absolutely. The worst thing that you can do with a presentation, especially in PowerPoint, is just create an entire deck of slides with bulleted lists and literally read every single slide to your audience. That's what my business partner had seen. And that's why he said that PowerPoint is impersonal, because that's what he has experienced. And unfortunately, I see that a lot. I'll go to a presentation and I'll see people do that, and I'll think, oh man, they're missing the boat here.
That's painful to watch. It really is.
And you go on what we call a mental vacation, where your mind doesn't stay focused on that presentation at all. I mean, you're everywhere else, right? You're thinking about what you have to do tomorrow. You're thinking about family issues. You're thinking about maybe your vacation. Maybe you're on the beach at that point in your mind because you can't pay attention anymore. You're just kind of lulled to sleep.
So. Yes. Sometimes I thought to myself, how much are they paying this person? I'd like to get up there and take it over.
I know. I know.
Justin, how can people reach out to you and how can they work with you?
Yeah. So my business itself is Just For You Training and Consulting. It's www.justforyoutc.com. My email address is justin@justforyoutc.com. And I do all kinds of training, software training, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Access, Visio, Project, you name it. All the Microsoft apps. Teams is a big one now. And I also do soft skills, empowerment, coaching, coaching for excellence, time management, project management, those types of courses. 75% of your success in business comes from the soft skills, not from the computer stuff. It comes from the soft skills classes. So that's a really important part of it. And then I have the charity, which is for those with Crohn's, colitis, and ostomy, and that's checkmatescharity.com. My email address there is justin@checkmatescharity.com. And my cell number is 610-324-5545. So if you want to be involved in the charity at all, if you have some ideas on how we can make our hockey game better, and maybe you're in an NHL city and you want to do it there, we can talk about that. So contact us. And again, if your company's looking for training, if you're looking for training, you want to get a new job and you need to add some skills to your resume, come see me.
Thank you very much. I'm super excited to be here with you today and also to produce your show coming up. So I'll let you get over to the other studio and I'll see you there shortly.
Thanks, Dr. Jacalyn.
Thank you. Bye for now.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone, for watching, for listening, for being here. We really do appreciate you. As I mentioned, we're celebrating 6 months as USA Global TV launched January the 10th of 2022. So it's a special time here as we continue to grow. And as I was out walking, I came up with the idea, that I'm going to offer people the ability to be a guest co-host. So what that means is you don't have to agree to a contract or a long-term arrangement. If you decide, I'd like to see what it's like to be a co-host for one show, I welcome you. So on the shows that I do myself and some of the new shows coming out, you can be my guest co-host with me, and you have the ability to go over and sign up for that anytime that it feels like it's something you want to do. Go over to usaglobaltv.com. That's where you book all of your sessions, and you'll see it right there at the top of the page. Book your session as a guest co-host. We also are offering and have been offering, but I'm just making you aware of it, the ability to have your video from your interview edited. So we can take out the intro, the outro, as well as the sponsorships, and put on a nice custom slide in the beginning and end. And the content is all about your interview. That's also over on usaglobaltv.com. So I thank you for being here. And please do stay around for Justin's Talking Head show, which is coming up right after this. And we have a full week of broadcasting. We broadcast from Monday through Friday. Again, if you'd like to be a guest, go to usaglobaltv.com. To watch our shows, we are on 11 platforms where you can watch our shows. We're on 5 radio channels, and we're on 6 podcasts stations. So you can watch us or listen to us in a number of ways. But I like to suggest you go over to our YouTube channel, which is USA Global TV. And if you're there, please do subscribe. We'd love to have you. I think people are told that there's a certain show they should watch, and they watch it, and they don't realize that we have upwards of 27 shows every week, and each show is a different topic. All of our shows are for the same purpose: to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. And when you subscribe, then we know that you're there, and we just can get some demographics, more information about who's watching, where they're watching from, so we can actually reach out and figure out what you would like to see next, what kind of programming you would enjoy. So please do subscribe to our channel. All right, thank you so much. I will be back shortly with Justin. Stay where you are. We'll be coming from another studio. Bye for now.